Okay, what we're doing today is looking at the project that you've got for stats. And basically, in a nutshell, you've got Bob here having an argument with Thumb Pickle about the chickens and whether they give them some more protein, so the protein will make the chickens lay bigger eggs. But in doing that, in giving the protein to these little chickens and stuff to make them lay more eggs, what ends up happening, these chickens end up dying a bit early. So there's this argument between the two of them that's saying, hey, you can feed them extra stuff, but at the end of the day, you're going to be nearly killing these things, so what can we do to make it good? So let's have a look at what the task asks and work out how you're going to solve this. So the task talks about Bob and Farmer Pickle talking about the protein in the chicken mix. He said that if you put more protein in, you get bigger eggs. So he's saying more protein equals bigger eggs. Okay, more P equal big eggs. Okay, but then what Pickle's saying is once you give them more protein, you kill them. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the relationship between these, which is, correlation. So we're trying to find the correlation between these two things. And it's set up in such a way that you can design it and you can go from there. So you've already been given a spreadsheet that's got data in your critical friends network. Okay, so what you've already got the task. So let's have a look now at what you actually have to do with it. So in your critical friends network, so you've got a critical friends network, and in that group you have 4 people. And what you need to do is you need to break this task into 2 halves. So 2 people do this bit and 2 people do this bit. So 2 of you are looking at the protein and the average weight, and the other 2 are looking at the protein and the lifespan of chickens. So you'll end up drawing a correlation graph like that, and you'll probably get another one that looks kind of like that. And between the 4 of you, you're going to have to come up with a solution to the problem to work out where the ultimate amount of protein gives you the best length of life for a chicken, but also gives you the best weights. Now you need to work out what weights are appropriate and all those kind of things. So it does get a bit complex, but the 2 of you are doing half each. Okay, your write-up at the end has to be your own. You can't copy someone else's, but just the handling of the data and getting all the data sorted and the decisions you make have got to be done in that pair. And you need to talk about that in your write-up. So let's now go and have a look at how we actually do it, because you've got a task sheet, and the task sheet goes through quite simply what you need to do. So the first part is you grab the data, which I just talked about then, and work out which ones you're going to do. And so between the 4 people in your critical friends network, you'll need to work that out. But the important thing is that you need to decide on a sample size, okay, which is in here. Your sample size has to be appropriate, and between the 4 of you, you need to work out what that is, remembering you can use the square root of n plus 10% of n. Okay, but the other thing is the population mean must reflect reflect the sample mean. You can do that using a spreadsheet if you want to. It's your call. So you can use a spreadsheet if you want for all the data. Now you've got all the data there already, so you can just highlight down and find the average of your data. So then you know what the population mean is. Okay, in your spreadsheet you will have a list of the data that you're using. And now you want to work out, because we're talking about population mean and sample mean. So let's pretend that these numbers here are your entire population. So to find out the population mean, you've got to use a formula, okay? And the formula is average. Now, Excel lets you do a whole lot of things, which is pretty cool. All you have to do is you've got to put equals to start with, and then if you write in average, okay, and then come across here and highlight the numbers, it'll find the average of A1 to A13, which is all those numbers there, and it comes up as 0.53. So I'll show you again. Equals AVERAGE, put a bracket, take the mouse, highlight it down, put a bracket at the end, and just hit enter, and that'll give you the average. So your sample mean, if this is all the numbers that you've got in your data, and that's the population mean. Your sample mean could reflect that. Okay, that's what you need to be aware of doing sample mean and population mean. You'll be able to work out the average of that, and then you'll be able to work out whether your sample size is appropriate. Okay, you've done that, and then you've got to draw appropriate graphs, which should be scatter plots. Work out whether there's any outliers and get rid of them if you need to, and then you can find out the strength of the relationship between the two. So really, it's just a correlation question. The next part you do is you need to make predictions about the egg. So remember, we did this the other day in class. This is the extrapolation. So this is the extrapolation and interpolation of the data. Okay, so you've got that there, you've got an equation of the line. I don't know what it will be. It might be something like y equals 4x add 73, whatever, and then you can make some predictions using that. Remember to do both sides. Do the ones where you find y, which might be the size of the egg, and x, which might be the protein. So do a couple of them. Okay, and then this is the bit where you start coming back to your group of 4, is you'll need to look at what the other people have come up with. They may have a different answer than what you have, and you need to work out between the two of you what's the ultimate protein that you should be able to give, so you get decent egg size and decent chicken life. And that's where you get your conclusion. That's where the bit comes where you'll be drawing all the data together. Okay, so right at the end, you'll need to pull it all together. You'll need to write an argument. Now this would be about a page long of this is what I found, this is why it should be like this. It's fairly simple. And you can draft that. Okay. Now down here also is a tick list, which I'd really encourage you to have a look at and go through, because it ticks off all the things that you need to do. You need to have an introduction explaining what you're doing, evidence that you've collected data, evidence that you've analysed it, a conclusion, and any references in the bibliography as you normally would have sitting in there as well. Okay, so all those things need to be there. So it's actually quite a big task. Now, in terms of drafts, you're allowed to have one draft. Okay, this is a one draft policy. One draft needs to be there. Okay, so one draft, which means that it needs to come to me electronically. So in Word would be the best way. And what I'll do is I'll give you feedback, and that'll come written as well as a screencast. And there'll be a screencast as that as well. The screencast goes for 4 minutes and explains what you need to work on and those kind of things. But I need them well within the due date, and we've already talked about when that due date's going to be. Okay, so that's basically how the project works.